I'll go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for December 18th, 2023, our last meeting of the year. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance will be led by City Clerk Timmons.
We could all bow our heads. Father God, we come before you tonight to pray for our community. I ask that you bless us with abundance of resources and fulfillment for all to enjoy. Lord, I ask that you speak to our leaders and remind them to lead with a servant's heart, a heart of honesty and integrity, and remind our leaders to act in obedience with your wisdom, your power, and your grace. Lord, I'm asking for healing for those who have more sickness than health. And Lord, I just want to say thank you for giving us such a wonderful opportunity to live in a great city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first order of business is the presentation of the 2021 audit. Sir?
Good evening. So first of all, before I kind of get into the presentation, I've talked to a couple of you. I kind of want to address, this is the December 31, 21 audit. When we started last year was our first year, the 2020 audit, our first year as your auditor. We were working with the finance director, and then earlier this year, when we were doing our work for 2020, as you all know, we were a little bit late on getting going on that, but when we were working with her during the 20 audit, we did some of the 21 stuff as well. So during that process, the finance director left. So you all had to go out and find a new finance director. We were kind of stuck with what we had done with the old finance director and then the new finance director. And so what we did is we took over the preparation of the audit report, the financial statements. You all have done that in the past. It took us a while to go in there and figure out exactly what had been done and to figure it out. It probably took a month or two for us to do that and to work with your current staff on kind of figuring out where you were to where we had to start a baseline to get started. After we got started with that, we did our audit, and we're here now to present. We have issued your final report, I think, a week or two ago. So I just wanted to address that before we got started. I don't know if there's any questions or if we want to wait till the end on that before we go with the audit results, or I just wanted to throw that out there.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, I will want to ask you your recommendations going forward on trying to get things faster. I don't think y'all are blamed at all for this thing to go as long as it did, and I'll also be asking you as to whether you need some more funding for the inconvenience and that sort of thing. So thank you.
Okay, so we'll go through the audit results. You have a small presentation here, paper. So if you look on page 2, the ACFR overview. So I think you all received a book. It's about 150 pages long, and it's got a lot of things in there. Your basic financial statements, our opinion, your RSI. We did audit all that. We didn't find any issues with it. We actually helped you prepare it. So on page 3, there's a few things that I like to talk about when we're talking about audits. One is the general fund, unassigned fund balance. So you ended the year with $7.5 million in unassigned general fund balance. So that represents 48% of 2022 budgeted expenditures. I think a good goal for a city to have is 20%. So all in all, very good financially on the general fund. That was created in part by $3.7 million in ARPA funding that you got to supplement your public safety salaries. So that is the majority of that increase. Your sanitation fund over year was pretty flat compared to the prior year. So not making money but not losing money in the sanitation fund. On to page 4, another significant item in your financial statements is your pension plans. You have 5 different pension plans, 3 with LOPFI, 1 with APRS, and then an elected officials plan. So in 2020, you had a $9 million liability. This year, it went down to 7.9. Now, this liability is going to fluctuate year over year based upon market, the market performance. So all the plans are very well funded. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing to keep those plans funded. As far as the audit scope, unmodified clean opinions on your GAGIS, your compliance. As I discussed earlier, the ARPA funding for your public safety, there was no issues with that. Page 6, 7, and 8, they go into our required communication. We didn't find any material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, no state compliance issues to report to you. So really no real issues that we found when we went in and did the audit. Page 7, as you know, any audit, there is judgments, there's estimates. Your pension liabilities are recorded based upon actuarial assumptions. We did audit those. Didn't find any issues. Your depreciable lives of capital assets, no issues there. But it is an estimate. As far as the quantitative, the financial statement disclosures that are particularly sensitive, your pension disclosures, your long-term liabilities, audit adjustments. So we did make a few audit adjustments, some related to property taxes and deferred revenues. We did record we passed on 2 adjustments. One of those was for a judgment that should have been recorded in 2020 that was not recorded, and one is for the Park on the River receivable that you're potentially going to collect in the future. So really no matters to report other than what we've discussed as far as our judgment about the quality of the accounting principles. No significant issues with management. As far as future pronouncements, I'm not going to read all these to you. I want you to pay attention to GASB 87. GASB 87 requires the city to analyze all leases next year and potentially put them on the books. It's a big, big undertaking. So you'll need to analyze all your leases and potentially book a liability for those in the future. That one is for next year. The other one is for 23 and 24. Not going to go in those, but you can read them at your leisure. So all in all, we're done. We've got a plan to get you caught up by next June. We have met with the mayor and management, I think last week, and came up with a plan to get your audits caught up by this time next year. With that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I've got some. I'd be more than happy to let other people go first. I've got several.
Councilmember Mosley?
I think Mazzoni said he'd like to go. No, okay. All right. Let's go to page 6 of your report there. And I just want to make sure I understand on identified deficiencies. You all have like 3 categories of deficiencies. Is that correct? You have kind of a light category, a moderate, and then something that's very major. Can you explain those?
Sure. So in accounting standards, particularly since you're audited in accordance with government auditing standards, there's 3 levels of deficiencies. One is a material weakness, where it materially affects the financial statements. The other one is a significant deficiency. It's a little bit less than a material weakness. And the third is a deficiency. So we are required to communicate deficiencies to management, which we have done. So we are not technically required to communicate those with those charged with governance, but we're happy to discuss those. One of them, of course, was the Park on the River issue. We did interview as many people as we could, and we did note along, discussing with the city attorney, there was an issue with billing that at the time. So it is not a material issue to the financial statements, but we did note a deficiency in your billing practices at that time. The other one, there were some There was some segregation of duties at the time. When we first started here, the former finance director basically did everything. And so we don't like it when one individual does everything. We like it spread around. Sometimes it's harder to do that when you have a smaller city. We think it's improved, but there still is a little bit of work to be done in 21 based upon that. So that is our deficiencies. Did I catch them all? Okay.
Okay.
And there is judgment involved on the level. So that being said, something that you think might be a material weakness, it might be a significant deficiency for us or a deficiency.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's how it kind of works when you have internal control issues.
All right, appreciate that. Now, you said you orally communicated to management other deficiencies in internal control. Do you, by any chance, have a list of that you could provide the city council with?
Yeah, I can provide those, sure. But mostly, we can provide them in detail, but they involved around segregation of duties.
Right.
So, in other words, what that would be is if one person did the payroll, they wrote the check, handed the check out, one person did it all. We like duties to be divided up.
I agree. Yeah, that's one problem. In the past, before we had you all as auditors, we a lot of times we were not aware of some internal control weaknesses, separation of duties, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And so I think it would give the council an appreciation of what all goes on. We might learn
Sure.
something, and to help us try to encourage better segregation.
Yeah, so
of duties.
briefly, we're required by professional standards to evaluate your internal control. We do that through a series of interviews, questionnaires. We have a document, what we call a duties grid, and we go cash outflows, cash inflows, and payroll. We give those to management, say, tell us this individual, what can they do, what do they do? And if there's overlapping duties in there, then we're required to evaluate those.
Yeah, I noticed there at the back of it's actually on the last page of the ACFR, talks about, finance director has incompatible duties in the cash disbursements and payroll transaction cycles. And it says resolved. Do you know when that was resolved? Was it the next year or just now?
So that had to do with the formal finance director doing everything, okay? In order for it to be in writing in the report itself, it has to be either a significant deficiency or a material weakness. Now it's a deficiency, because there is more segregation of duties than there were in 2020.
Okay, great. So, is our new finance lady helping us out in that regard?
Yeah, she's trying, I mean, you really encountered the perfect storm this past year, with the audit kind of being halfway done and your finance director leaving on you. And so it put a strain on the current management, the current finance. They had to come in and kind of figure out where the former finance director left off, and to no fault of her own, right? I mean, we had to come in and finish the audit.
Yeah.
So we had to put her in a position to where she had to go research things, questions that we would ask. It just took a little bit longer, right? And it took a little bit longer for us to figure out the report. As I've said, the former finance director prepared the financial statements. And that, if you've looked at the book, that's a significant task, right? So we had to come in and figure out, when we got the report, it wasn't in balance. There was things missing. She did her best to try to help you all get it done, but it just didn't happen. So we fixed it.
Okay, great. Now, as far as the ACFR, that's what we're talking about here is the final ACFR.
Your financial statements.
The financial statements. In a good year, when we haven't had any turnover and so on and so forth, how long should it take? How many hours should it take to prepare an act for maybe a week, something like that?
Well, it just depends on the complexity of it. This one, probably a week or two, probably, yes.
Okay.
I mean, as far as getting audits issued, timely audits are considered within 6 months. That's kind of the standard.
That was another question I had. In a good year, you would finish the calendar year, and then you should be making June 30th, you should be making a
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, and like I said, we met with the mayor and we met with the current finance director. We have someone on the schedule to start in January.
Okay.
So our goal is to get you caught up. And so by June, you're gonna be completely caught up.
On 2022,
Right.
and then we'll be going into 2023 and hopefully maybe finish by the end of the year. And
Yeah,
at that
and
point, we really
we
will
can
be-
work with, you know, if we wanna come out and, you know, sometimes it's efficient to do both in one year. I mean, that's certainly possible. I mean, 2023 is probably not gonna be ready in January. They're probably not gonna be ready for us. That's a little early. But we certainly wanna get you caught up this
Okay.
year.
Would you all be willing to come out, say, in February and just kind of give us an update of how things are going?
If I'm asked by management to come out, I'll come out anytime.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we invite the Forbes folks to come out at the second meeting of February and kind of give us an update on where we are on the 2022 audit.
We've got a motion and a second to have the auditors come out in February. Just my thoughts on that, I don't see, are y'all expecting to be finished in February?
sir.
If everything is going perfectly well and smooth, do you guys?
Probably March.
March, okay.
I mean, your current finance director was not here in 22 either.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna face some obstacles. We've got a plan to work through those. At least now she knows how the system works, right? She knows how to, as I say, turn the computer on, right, and dig around. So I'm gonna deploy resources to help and to get you caught up, and we can take on preparing the financial statements. So that should help.
Great, great.
Is there any discussion on the motion to have the auditors come out in February? Councilmember Grunwald?
So I just want to make sure, so I'm new too, so this is my first year. So I'm playing catch up a little bit. So we'll finish with this, and I think what Councilmember Mosley is asking is, by what time in the new year do you think you would have enough progress that we could check in with you? That's a reasonable time frame. You said March?
Well, I mean, I can't do anything unless management helps me
Sure,
do.
of
So
course.
if they do everything that we're supposed to be doing, I don't think March is unrealistic. The end of March, I don't think is unrealistic to have your audit issued.
Okay. And
That will take a lot of work, but
To-
I'm willing to do it.
and that's to have 2021 complete or 2022 started?
21 is done.
Right. And so to have 2022 pretty well in the meat of it, you
Yes.
feel like? Okay. My other question, since I'm already on the topic and it kind of bears with this too, how long have you worked with Maumelle, Forbes? Not you specifically, but Forbes?
Oh, me, I've got 20, 25 years.
No, Forbes,
Oh.
working with Maumelle.
This is our second audit.
Okay, okay.
Councilmember Mazzoni?
Yeah, I like the idea of coming out to give an update, but if it's at a point that's not realistic for anything new, that's why, and we're.
That's what I was trying to get at, not very elegant.
A later one would, in your opinion, and it's a crystal ball, would you have anything really of substance to do in February, or would it be better to do it in a March timeframe?
I think that's a question for management.
So when y'all say substance to report, and my understanding, and Councilmember Mosley, correct me if I'm wrong, you're not wanting anything, you're just wanting a status update.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can give me the green light. Yeah, I'm mainly wanting to make sure we don't get into a period of time like we did this past year where we really didn't know what was going on. And I was calling the auditors and I was getting different information, and I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help you guys get along. And that's mainly what I want, is a status saying, hey, we're on track for maybe getting this, report done. It's looking good at this point. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, I'm an open book.
You don't need to
I answer
come-
your phone whenever you call. Sometimes I'm traveling, I have to call you back, but I've not ghosted you for very long.
Oh, you've done great. I appreciate it,
Okay.
actually. So, I mean, you don't even need to come down from Fayetteville, Mr.
I'm happy to. I'm good. I'm here most of the time anyway.
Okay. Anyway, that's my reason. I just I think the council needs to show the residents that we're serious about getting this caught up and checking in with folks and really riding herd on this thing best we can.
Did you have anything else, Councilmember Mazzoni?
No, Steve's got it.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I had a quick question for you on page 9.
Okay.
So it's, for the time being, the motion on the floor
Okay, so we're
and
talking about
comments
that now.
should be
Okay.
specific toward, having the auditors come back in February
Okay,
to give
well,
a
I did have a
status
comment on
update.
that too. I'd make a motion to adjust, having them come back out in March. I think we might be more likely to pass if we did something like that. So I'd like to make that motion to have them come out in March, at the end of March. To adjust the previous motion.
So I've got a motion on the floor to amend the motion requesting that the auditors come give a status update in February to March.
Right.
Is there a second on that motion? Motion, I have a motion and a second. We'll discuss both of these motions as one. But the first vote will be on the motion to amend the original motion from February to March. Councilmember Holt?
I take a little bit different approach. I am looking at your preface to the report itself, your overview. And at the very beginning, under the discussion, the scope of the audit, there's 3 points that we have provided reports as of December the 31st, 21, for the following requirements. An opinion on compliance for the major federal award program, report of internal control compliance, a schedule of expenditure federal awards. Would you just sort of give an overview of what?
Sure. If
what
we
that-
could come back to that, do you have any, Councilmember Holt, do you have any comments on the motion to amend, or the motion requesting that they come here in February, or the motion that that motion be amended from February to March? And
I apologize. I thought had moved on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
okay, so if there is, I have a light from Councilmember Mazzoni.
Yes, Roy, just so, so the deadline is June 30th for the 22.
It's passed.
No, oh, 'cause we've already passed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What deadline are you talking about?
For the
Councilmember?
22 audit. 'cause
There's no real, I mean, what, I don't, I'm
You're
not.
supposed to have them submitted to legislative audit in 18 months,
So that would be,
June 30th of 24 for the 22 audit.
Okay.
We need to have it finished by June
June 30th.
to keep from having turnback money taken away.
Well, and so I don't think there's any turnback money that's at risk of being either taken or escrowed at the 18-month mark.
Well, the 18-month mark, yes.
At the 18-month is when they escrow it. And you get that back when you submit it, and it's not until after 2 years, is that correct?
I think it's 1 year. If it's in escrow for 1 year, I think it's 1 year. It's my recollection. 6 months or 1 year, I think.
So,
And that law goes into effect June the 30th of this coming year. Coincidentally.
okay. So we have a motion and a second to amend Councilmember Mosley's motion from having the auditors come in February to give a status update on the 22 audit to having the auditors come in March to give a status update. Councilmember Mosley.
Yes,
Mr. Mazzoni. One of the reasons I want to keep this status going is because of that June 30th deadline. Our turnback money could be affected. So I'm wanting to show the taxpayers that we're doing all we can to get that audit done. And I don't care if it's March or February. So I'll vote for Mr. Tierney's motion to change it to March.
All in favor of Councilmember Tierney's motion, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. I'll open up the floor for discussion on Councilmember Mosley's motion to have as amended by Councilmember Tierney, to have the auditors give a status update in March. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Now, Councilmember Holt, I will give you the floor for your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize for my intrusion. I just wanted to let you have an opportunity to discuss some of the statements that are in your pre-audit lineup, and maybe give us a little bit of, it's sort of like a school teacher
Yes, sir.
getting ready to teach a history lesson.
So that refers to your federal awards. So if a municipality receives federal dollars directly from the U.S. government through a state agency that was funded initially by the federal department, you're required to have an audit in accordance with uniform guidance, single audit. So you were required in 21, you received some ARPA money, some COVID-related money, and you used that for public safety. We were required to audit that in the current year, and that refers to that. The schedule of expenditures of federal awards is your schedule of federal dollars that you get, your internal control. We have to look at the controls around that COVID money, and I forgot the last one, or the first one.
Okay.
But that's what it's related to.
Okay. So, but they have is that in writing, your opinions, or was that verbal to them?
No, sir, I'm not, it's in writing.
Okay, good.
There was no issues that we noted with that.
Okay. On page 6 of the same report, the billing procedures for leases, and there's a paragraph there that you're noted that we did not have formal procedures for controls of the leases and going into the invoices and payments, etc. Has that been outlined again or understood, or did you have some comments to them about that?
Well, yes, and we've been talking about that probably for the past year.
Yes.
That's related to the lease at down on the river. So during COVID, when things were shut down, it appears to us that the city stopped invoicing them.
Okay. I guess it's the next page. It says your audit of our compliance of requirements applicable to our major federal awards program for the year December 21.
Yeah, that is related to the ARPA money, the COVID money,
Right.
that you got to help you offset some public safety expenses.
Okay.
That's what that's related to.
Right.
We didn't find any issues with that.
Right. That's really about, there's one last paragraph. It's item 40 on your 1 through 40 list. We have disclosed to you all known instances of violation of non-compliance, of possible violations, or subject non-compliance of laws that has to do with fraud or any potential fraud or whatever.
Yeah, so what you're reading off there is a management representation letter that we asked management to sign before we issue the audit, telling us that they've complied with all of that. Okay, so that's a part of our audit that we have to attach to the management letter.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That really was about just how you gave oversight to them on some of the subjects that are obviously relevant to our overall
Right.
prudent control
Yeah.
method.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with the city this past year to get this done. In my opinion, you faced kind of a perfect storm, where you were already a little bit late, and you had some turnover in key personnel. That has been rectified with the hiring of your current finance director, and staff there. You know, we hold a seminar every year for our clients and friends in our office to kind of teach about new upcoming standards, what's going on in the audit world. Your staff came and we're there in our office trying to learn things. So I'm bullish on getting you caught up this year and going forward.
Okay, so good. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Tierney?
Yeah, I had the other question I wanted to ask was dealing with on page 9 on, under governmental activities, talking about the valuation of the land. And seeing that the land valuation did not change, it was the exact same amount in 2021 as what it was in 2020. I mean, how do you arrive at that number?
So land is not, we don't book, we book that at cost, the historical.
So that's just
Yeah,
what the city
yes,
has
sir.
in the cost?
Yeah, if you get any new land, let's say you have a development, where a developer comes in and gives you some land, that's where we do that valuation. Once we set that, we don't really go back and
Okay, so there's no
increase it.
market value or anything
I
like
mean,
that?
if it goes down significantly, we would probably say, hey, this is not worth what you have it on the books at.
Gotcha, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yeah, let's go back, talk about the, Park on the River, deficiency here. You had mentioned a minute ago that you thought that, the billing had fallen off on that in 2019 due to COVID, is that correct?
Well, I don't know why it was done. I am, what we did on that is we interviewed a lot of people. We talked to the attorney. We got his report. We looked at it. That's what we were, I don't exactly know why it happened. From what we were looking at, we didn't find any evidence that we would think it was intentional.
Let me ask you, did you interview accounting personnel and that sort of thing?
Yes, we did.
To compare notes, how about the person that was actually doing the billing? Did you guys go that deep?
So Kyle Elmore here. I worked on this and did a lot of the interviews. So it was kind of difficult because we're talking about 2019 and 2020, I think when a lot of this activity was going on, but we interviewed the entire accounting personnel, the city clerk, the mayor, and the former finance director to see if there was if any guidance had been not to bill, and nothing of that came up from those interviews.
Okay, you didn't ask the actual accounting person that had been doing the billing?
Well, I think we did. So we interviewed both of the accounting personnel that are still here. So as I understand it, that was the people at that time. I'm not really sure. I think there was a different finance director at that time. So it's hard to say exactly. I don't know who.
Yeah,
all
we
was
can't
there.
just call somebody that's not here and
Right.
ask them. We don't have a subpoena.
Would you call your because I had asked you all to do an investigation. Would you say this was a very thorough, in-depth investigation, or would you say this is just kind of normal that you would do if you identified a deficiency?
Well, we didn't do a thorough investigation, like a forensic audit or anything. We did what we needed to do, we thought, to issue your audit opinion.
Okay, but not necessarily to really find out exactly what happened. It
Well,
was an immaterial amount, so.
Right, it didn't affect our opinion.
Okay,
So
You did as much to
If you tell
support
us
your
you have a
opinion.
problem, or if there is a concern, we're required to go and do work on that, or to get an understanding of that. And so that's what we did.
okay, thank you. What is a dollar amount you would consider material for our city?
That probably just depends. we typically don't share what we think is material, when we're doing an audit to everyone, so.
Okay, probably
To
more than
clarify,
50.
that's what we've heard from all auditors that we've
Well, I
worked
mean,
with, is they
you know,
don't tell
I
us what
mean,
material.
you know, if you or a member of management or the mayor says something is material, then it's material, right? I mean, so it's not just our decision, they're your financial statements. We proposed a past adjustment, management signed off on it, so in their opinion, they signed the rep letter. In our opinion, we issued the opinion. There is a formula that we go through to determine what we think is material, what we can live with, and this is below that.
Okay, the park on the river was below that, so it's probably somewhere between 50,000 and 1,000. I mean, 50,000 and 100 and a million, something like that.
Well, again, I don't know exactly know. I mean, it's typically not, we typically don't talk about that.
Okay.
I'm happy to share our reasoning on that further.
But I would assume that if something came to light, that you would encourage the city to investigate something that was even below a material amount, just to find out, you know, if it's an irregularity or something, find out
Sure.
what happened.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can I ask what you meant by that question, Councilmember Mosley? Because I'm not sure are you saying that, was your question that based on what they said, there's more that we should be looking into?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I didn't, what was your question?
My question was, if something came along, should the city be, and the city council, should we be saying, well, that car that disappeared was worth less than 50,000, we don't need to even look into it because it's not material.
I'm not saying that at all. There's a big difference between our tolerable error in an audit and your tolerable error.
Okay,
And
thank you.
management's tolerable error.
All
So
right.
I am not suggesting that you put a dollar amount on anything.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, this we could live with.
Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, I need to ask about the organization chart that's in the audit. It's on page, there it is, it's on page V. There at the very first of the book, there's an organization chart before you get into page 1 and all that. I'd call last year's audit, actually had a line going from the city clerk down to finance, indicating that there was some degree of oversight or responsibility over the finance department. This year, that line is gone. And I'd called the auditors to ask if that was a mistake, and they said, well, we don't know, that was probably something that the mayor or somebody at the city provided on this flow chart. Is this chart accurate that you know of?
It is. When the city attorney asked me some questions about it, and I had said, oh, that happened years ago. Then I went and was looking at the previous audit and saw it there. And then I was like, when did this happen? I've searched my emails to figure out when precisely it happened. To me, it was so old hat that I don't know. And so I don't have what specifically was sent over, but I think it accurately portrays the reporting. And the finance director in reality reports to the mayor. Under state law, the mayor hires and fires department heads. I think in practice, the city clerk treasurer has areas of responsibility in there, but is not the one signing the leave slips, or if someone's taking a vacation, you know, sort of that level of management. Now, there's areas of responsibility that fall right in the treasurer's handbook. And so I don't remember ever specifically saying change that, but I feel like I had a discussion with someone at some point in time, and it may have been Liz, where we discussed that sounds like it could be familiar, and I would have been supportive because I think that more accurately reflects the reporting hierarchy there. And the city clerk or treasurer is free to chime in there too. I think that changed, and I'm delving off the audit a little bit, but it was in the audit as provided by the city. I think when Shannon was here, so late in 19 or early in 2020, I noticed, and I think Tina brought it to my attention, that we thought the finance director was maybe playing a little bit of mom and pop, which is where you go to one person when you're asking about certain things because you'll get a more favorable answer about those sort of things, and then you go to this person, you get a more favorable answer about that. Or there was an occasion where I think I had said yes or no to something, and then Tina had said the opposite without ever, because we weren't communicating. It was just a small mundane thing, and I think we realized that we were getting gamed a little bit. And so I think when Shannon left, Tina has been involved in the hiring process, as was Liz for Beatrice, if I've got a finance director still here, and is consulted on a lot of stuff. But I think I see the finance department as reporting to the mayor, not the treasurer. And I'll open that up if you want to confirm or deny or disagree, because I think we've not always necessarily agreed 100% on how that should work. So if you'd like to say something.
Well, it would just be just agreeing with what you said. We did have a situation where the mayor and we weren't communicating effectively, and so there was some issues in regards to supervising, but we have collaborated and decided moving forward a better direction of supervising. The areas where I'm tasked with, fiduciary responsibilities, I do focus on those. And then if needed in a supervisory role, then I step in. But we have collectively agreed that it's probably best to have that primary contact. That was resolved a while ago.
Okay, so you all made that change a while ago. It's not just recently, and we're doing this going forward.
No, so that started when Liz came in, because when Shannon was going out is where we kind of noted, and also what it did is there were certain areas that if it was a department wholly under my responsibility that I might have caught or paid more attention to, and this was pre-Liz, so I don't know when she came, it was pre-Liz. And I think Tina thought that was something that I was managing. There's not like a guidebook that said it. What happened is in the past you just had a former mayor and a former city treasurer that kind of had developed a practice. And so in an effort to minimize some of those things occurring, we functioned like that. There's never really been anything in writing except that one line being removed, which I thought had happened years ago. But it was there at least in a org chart that was sent between me and my chief of staff in, I want to say, early 2020. It was still there. So sometime between then and now. But I think to answer your question, I think it more accurately reports like supervisory responsibilities. I think that there are still areas that under the law, the treasurer has responsibility of those projects. In the private world, as you probably know, it's not uncommon to have a sort of chain of command, but then somebody be on another team that has its own project manager, and sort of within the scope of that project, they're reporting to someone else. But from their day-to-day and the way it works is they've got that chain of command.
Okay, I would mention, I went to the city website and was looking, and it says city clerk, treasurer, their duties or their clerk's responsibilities are one thing, then they say city treasurer responsibilities. Said I'm involved, and I'm involved in much of the day-to-day operation of the city. I'm the city treasurer and oversee the accounting department. So that's kind of a confusing statement. If you're overseeing it, there should be a line, I would think.
On the website?
Yes, so that
I
needs to
don't
be.
think that's an accurate statement that is on the website. I think, and you're free to chime in, Tina, if you want. I don't think
I
she's-
think we've answered your questions. Is there something specifically that you would like to know if I do? I feel like we're going in a circle. The
I'm-
mayor primarily, he
I'm-
is the supervisor of the finance director. I am the treasurer. I am responsible for my fiduciary responsibilities. That is how we've operated. If there is a grammatical or error or something on the website, I read the,
That's it right there, I passed it up. If you can take a look and see
I'm
what it
aware
says,
of
but
it.
You may want to change that because it's confusing. That
sounds
confuses the
accurate.
issue, I would think.
I'll be happy to
I mean,
do
not
that.
accurate. It sounds like something that's good to do.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, all right. Do you agree with what we're talking, do you have an opinion on this as to organization chart, whether that should be in there or not?
No.
You don't have an opinion, okay. I knew you'd say that because you all said that was not under your audit, so. But I was looking for input.
I mean, I don't think a lot of our municipalities, the city clerk,
Okay.
manages the finance director. I
All
don't see
right.
that very often.
Okay, let me ask you just a couple more miscellaneous questions. At one point, several months ago, we talked about audit committees. You all deal with some cities that have audit committees, is that correct?
Sure.
Could you tell us, this was something I was hoping that we could ask you about back mid-year when I hoped that you guys would make it by. But can you give us some ideas on benefits of having an audit committee and whether it's something Maumelle might want to consider?
You know, an audit committee prevents open discussion, not open discussion, but it really allows, you know, it's typically an open meeting that's usually usually there's a couple members of the governing body on it, you know, and occasionally you'll go to outside citizens that serve on the audit committee. And typically what we do is we will present this audit in a more detailed fashion, you know, an hour or two over lunch, go through all the numbers, you know, any questions that you have, we talk to you before the audit starts, after the audit starts, and then typically, you know, if you were the chair of the audit committee, you would sit up here and say, hey, we've gone through this with the auditors, we agree with everything, and then, you know, I would follow you up on that and answer questions. But typically, it's a more, you know, it's still an open meeting, you know, typically anybody can come, but it just goes into more details.
Okay.
That's typically how it works.
But it probably prevents miscommunications and that sort of thing, and I would guess that would be a benefit is the city council. The audit committee would probably report back to the city council and make recommendations about various things or something like that. Is that correct?
You know, and we typically see it when there's an internal audit function, you know, in a larger city too. They typically direct the work of an internal audit department, something like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, we have several clients larger than Maumelle that have audit committees.
Okay. So you wouldn't be opposed to us having one? You don't think we're too small or something like that?
I'm not opposed to.
All right. I may get with the city attorney and see if we can't draft legislation just to set one up. If anybody here has a real objection to that, let me know here. But because I'd hate for him to do a bunch of work only to have it voted down. So anyway, does anybody have any objections to me kind of asking him to do that?
Are there any other questions for the auditor? Councilmember Gronwald?
Well, my question about the audit committee, and I'm not opposed to that, but I'm assuming that would obviously be an additional charge from Forbes to conduct that, or would that be
No,
part of our?
we wouldn't charge you extra just to attend an audit committee meeting.
Okay,
You know, typically, it takes an hour or two of our time.
Okay.
I'm not gonna charge you extra for that, no. If that's what you wanna do as a governing board, I'm not gonna.
the other comment slash question I wanted to make was, because I am new, as I understand it, in years past, we've been really behind in our audits. And I think this is I've sat through lots of audits before for nonprofits, and this is extremely detailed and very thorough, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate the work that you all have done. And also the city, having to provide all that information and meet with you guys and interview, and, you know, we want to find deficiencies in a way, so that we can correct them. And I know that was a lot of work for all of our city staff to do that, in addition to their day-to-day job. And just, again, another big kudos to our finance director and finance department. We appreciate this. Thank you.
Councilmember Mosley?
I've got one final question for the auditors. You're not gonna object to this, I'm sure. Because of our situation here, and for whatever reason, I'm sure we disrupted your schedule significantly this year as far as, you know, I'm sure you had us penciled in for various times to be out here doing work and so on and so forth. And then you also did the ACFR presentation or preparation, which you didn't sign up for this year or 2021. I wanted to open the door here, I think, for paying you all some additional money for all this stuff. I don't know if you've been in conversation with the mayor or anything like that, but I believe we probably owe you some more money. Do you have any thoughts?
We definitely did some stuff that was out of scope. We talked to the mayor about that. We'll tally it and get back with you. You know, we want to do all we can to assist you and get you through this and get you on the right path. It's important to us that that we're on the right path here. So we'll work on tallying that up and get with the mayor.
Thank you, sir. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had a couple questions that really I want to make the record clear, and I'm smiling because I don't think I told you that I was going to ask these questions, but I want to be crystal clear because of things that have been said and accused. First of all, to be clear, the deficiency that y'all found, that was a regular deficiency or a significant deficiency?
Deficiency.
So it was not a significant deficiency?
Not in our opinion.
Okay. Kind of following up with that, if you could tell the council what influence you think I or management has exerted on you to come up with a particular, any specific finding.
Mayor, you've jumped on calls with us. You've been helpful throughout the entire process. So there's no blame from us coming to you that we found. You know, the fact that it was brought up and discussed a year ago, that kind of helps us get a little bit comfortable that it's just a deficiency, that you all caught it, you caught the issue, and it wasn't a material issue for our audits. And you know, right now, the reason it's a past adjustment, we don't know what you're gonna do, right? I don't think you've all decided yet how that's ultimately going to be resolved. So if we were to book something in your financial statements, chances are it would not be correct. So that's why we went down the road of or collectible, right? In order for you to book revenue and a receivable in some financial statements, it has to be measurable. It's not measurable at the moment, from my knowledge. And I don't know that it's collectible. So we would have to go and do audit work on that. So that's why we proposed a past adjustment. If we come along next year and you finalize the plan, been paid, we'll probably book, not even been paid, but if you finalize the plan, saying, here, this is what we're gonna do on this, we will propose, or your finance director will probably accrue that as revenue. And we will not have a past adjustment anymore. But you have had no influence on me or our audit team on how to treat that.
And just as you've been asking around and looking for fraud, and we've kind of brought that up for something that you were supposed to be looking into within the scope of what you were doing, at any point in time, have you seen anything that made you think something fishy in any way, shape, or form was going on?
No, but again, my job is not to find and detect fraud. I'm not the fraud police. My job is to issue an opinion on your financial statements. So if you will read our opinion, you read our rep letter, it's possible that there's fraud here and we didn't catch it, right? That's possible with any entity.
Yeah.
So we cannot be relied on to catch fraud, but if we come across something, then we are required by professional standards to do what we think we need to do to address it.
Okay. Great. I just wanted to ask those questions. One, I guess, was because someone will inevitably say you're working for the city, and not to impugn your character, but mine is up for grabs as an elected official. And so I just wanted to give without warning you that I was going to ask that question, a chance to let people know whether you think you were being influenced, whether management was not cooperative or transparent. We know, and we've talked about this, the scope of what you've been engaged for and doing is limited. But just making sure that there was, just sort of setting the record clear on those issues.
Yeah, our opinion is issued to you and members of the city council, not just you.
And there was, would you guys say there was one deficiency or two? You listed one,
There's a
but kind of said we
handful in
mentioned
there
things.
related to overlap of duties. We're happy to provide you that document. We discussed them in a call the other day.
So on page 6, I guess, of the management letter under deficiencies, it has one bolded, it says billing procedures leases.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first paragraph, and then it kind of says in the second paragraph.
Yeah. So if typically if there's one that we think needs to be in writing, it's at our discretion that we can put it in writing. We felt like that needed to be in writing.
And those are, even though deficiencies are the least concerning deficiency, you take the more serious deficiencies, I presume, and put them in writing, and then the smaller things you just communicate.
Yeah, it's at our discretion if we feel like that it needs to go in this document. Like I said, deficiencies we're not required to communicate deficiencies to the governing board.
Yeah.
Okay, we're required to communicate those to management. Hey, it's kind of like a slap on the hand. Do better here. You know, we think you could do better here, do better here.
Yeah. And I think, I forget who said it, I believe it was Councilmember Gronwald, but it was one of the exciting things about getting a new auditing firm is fresh eyes, different interests, they catch things that maybe other folks have just got used to, and that's one of the values of a fresh auditing firm in general. Last year for 2020, we had a significant deficiency, right?
Yes.
Which was more serious than this one.
Yes.
And at least one other deficiency. I'm pop quiz.
Yeah,
on that,
yeah,
but the
and I
significant
don't
deficiency
remember
we
all
talked
the
about.
details, but last year when we came in here, you basically had, I don't want to say a one-person shop, but the former finance director was doing everything, and we told her about that. She worked on it, hired some staff, so it's getting better.
Got you. And so you've seen improvement over last year.
Yeah.
In terms of that. Okay. I don't have any further questions, Councilmember Mosley.
You were gonna give us a list of some of those other deficiencies you communicated orally, is that correct? We talked about that earlier on.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier.
Okay, that'd be
It's just
great.
overlapping duties within the accounting function.
Just whatever you guys came up with, I'd appreciate knowing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll send them to Beatrice and she can send them to you.
Okay, and thank you guys again.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate everyone.
All right, any additional questions? Seeing none at this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept the audit.
So moved. Second.
I've got a motion, second, any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I want to say one thing kind of related to audits. The management letter, which goes to the board, and then I think back when I was still on the council started asking for that other letters that had the stated deficiencies. I was kind of going back and looking at 2016 had 5 or so, 17 4, 2018 4. I couldn't find I found the letter that goes to the council, but not the management letter for 2019. And so I just know that there's some folks who are going to look at a deficiency and act like that is not something that we're hoping to find, or it's this big bad boogeyman, but I just want to put it into perspective. And those letters have been going out to the council, and the council has had those since, I think, 14, might have been 15, I'm not sure. I think I was one of the people making a stink about it. But anyways, we can move on. Y'all are free to stay or leave as you feel. With that, we will move on to the approval of the minutes. Y'all received a copy of the minutes of the December 4th regular meeting in the packet. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. I've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from December 4th, 2023. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Give me just a second to make sure that we are still live, since my laptop locked up. We still are. Oh, yeah, there we go. With that, we will move on to the financial statement review. Beatrice?
Okay. So just one comment regarding the audit, just to be clear as well. 2022, we are committed as a finance team to work with the auditors, but there are a lot of changes, and I was not here that year. I'm going to try to do, together with my team, the best we can. But we have new accounting system in 2022 in the month of August. So I have 2 accounting systems to work with for the audit. We have to continue regular 2023 work, and we are not a big team. So I depend on my senior accountant that you already met on trying to not to bother her much in order she can dedicate her time to the auditors, and I can continue with the regular finance reporting. I just wanted to tell you, because even if I can make a report to you every month on how am I doing, if I was able to deliver everything or not. So I will try also to keep you posted how we are doing. We already started now, but I just wanted to comment
And a whole
that.
new chart. Not only is there 2 different softwares that were implemented mid-year, at the start of the year, it was a whole new chart of accounts.
Yes, it's a new chart of accounts, and I'm new. The senior of accounting is also, I think she started in 2022. So she's also new. She didn't even know the accounting, how it was working. We are learning together, because the previous finance manager, of course, she wanted to catch up. So she didn't have time to teach the team. So I just wanted you to know what are the challenges I see for the 2022 audit. Okay, let's go to the financial statements. As of November 2023, in revenue, we don't have any issue. Actually, there is a remaining budget to catch up of 598,000, but there is no any problem on that, because by December, we will be accruing the 2 months for January that is collected December. So on December, we catch up on revenue. For the general fund. On expenditures and the general fund, I think it's interesting to mention to you that there are 2 expenses. If you see that we have a lot of expense to go, and it's the police and the fire department. And I just want to comment that I made an analysis why the budget was so high. And basically it's because we were expecting to have a full department of police. and a full team of fire. There were a lot of turnover on the teams. So of course we didn't spend all the money, but we want to keep in that way because we want our security. So the same issue that I presented like in the budget is the same that we had in 2023. Other than that, all the expenses are on their budget. I don't see any issue. If we pass to in the next page, now I was able to put in your package, I don't know if you noticed, but I was able to put the general fund. So I'm going to try to improve the presentations little by little, but you can see that we have a total balance fund for 12 million as of last year. Since we have a profit in the general fund for 1.5 million as of November, so your general fund increases to the 14.2 million. Okay, so this is how I'm going to put it to you in a regular basis, and you have the fund here. So as you know, we are okay. We have a financial health, no any issue on the general fund. If we pass to the street funds, the next page. Thank you, Tina. Go down, please. The 102. Next one. The next page. That was the general fund. The next page. Okay, that one. 102. So these are your revenues and expenditures for the street fund. In the street fund, we also have a profit as of November 2023 of 583,000. Our fund as of December 2022 was 4.6 million plus the profit. Our fund as of today or as of November is 5.2 million. I don't see any issue here either. We are on their budget. And the last one is the next page, please. Is the 130, is our sanitation fund. And here, we know the history here. So we are a little expenditures over revenue are higher. So we have a 453,000 negative. And our initial fund was 1.5 million. So we have 1 million only. So the story is ongoing. So for the sanitation fund. And then the last page, it is just informative, is for the police and fire fund. Just, you used to have this page there. It's just informative as to how we receive the money, extra money for the police and the fire fund. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report for the financials as of November 2023. I don't know if you have any questions regarding this.
One thing that I thought was pretty interesting that you brought to my attention was the year-to-date actuals from November. When you compare the revenue to the expenses, the actuals for 2022 are that we have generated $1.6 million more actual money than we have actually spent in the general fund for this year, which is always interesting when we go into the budget session with, I want to say the appropriation from fund balance in the budget was we were budgeting for 23 to roughly spend $3.1 million from the general fund more than we brought in, which actually means that compared to kind of where we thought we would be, we're 1.6 better, and we didn't spend the 3.1 out of the general fund, which is, what is that,
That is good for this.
$4.8 million more in the general fund than we had budgeted to have in the general fund. That is not necessarily massive savings, though we did talk about things like the police department was staffing in different departments has been low, and so that being that personnel is one of our highest costs for the city, that has affected it. But also revenue has been very good for Maumelle in '23. So I just found that interesting. Were there any questions or comments about the financials? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion, second. Any discussion on that? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries.
Okay, and just last comment on this. 2023 year for me is over, finally. We finished the 2021 report, as you see, with the auditors. That was a good thing to do. Financials as of December will be presented until January. We have the proposed budget. You have it also in your package already. So it says proposed still, so we just need to work a little bit to give you the final one. But I'm done for
Well, if I could
2023,
clarify,
Mayor.
we're not doing anything to the budget. It's just proposed because it hasn't been adopted yet by the city council, which should hopefully happen here tonight.
Okay, well, that's all for my part. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we will move on to procedural motion. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to have all ordinances and resolutions read by title only.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no unfinished business, so new business. The first item of new business is Resolution 2023-41, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement. Madam City Clerk Treasurer, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-41, a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between the City of Maumelle, the City of Little Rock, the City of North Little Rock, the City of Jacksonville, the City of Sherwood, Pulaski County, Central Arkansas Water, the Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority, and the North Little Rock Wastewater Utility pertaining to the Pulaski Area Geographic Information System, PAGES, and for other purposes.
Thank you. So all of those entities listed are the entities that are currently members of PAGES. PAGES is, of course, the geographical information system that we all use behind the scenes, and is an incredibly powerful tool. If you guys haven't used it or messed around with it, if you're trying to find information about Pulaski area properties, you can find a lot more information than you can on, say, Google Maps or Google Earth or that sort of stuff. So check that out. We've talked for years about becoming an actual member, which gets us a seat on the board, and we kind of went back and forth. We, staff, Scott and I think we'd even brought it up, that it just wasn't quite worth the money. That changed when with the 911 consolidation and Smart 911, the requirements for the state and reporting is going to be very significant, such that we really can't handle it in-house with the current workload. We'd have to either hire someone and bring them in to handle some of that, or a consulting firm, PAGES. So that suddenly made the value much better there. So we discussed it in the budget time. The money's included in the budget, but we have to actually enter into an interlocal agreement with those entities to make that happen. I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2023-41.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item of business is Resolution 2023-42, approving an operating budget for 2024. Madam City Clerk, if you could please read that by title only.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Maumelle, County of Pulaski, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled Resolution Number 2023-42, a resolution to adopt a budget for the operation of the city for the calendar year 2024.
Thank you very much. I wanted to hit a couple highlights just for the record on this budget, which I think is pretty exciting. Of course, it's typically exciting in those years where revenue is good and we have money that we're not having to cut out of the budget as much. One of the things I and the council during the budget committees is always very mindful of is making sure that those monies in the general fund are primarily used used for capital purchases. That is, that we are not obligating ourselves to long-term reoccurring expenses just because we have some money in savings right now is not the perfect time to sort of lock that in the long run. In the general fund, some of the big items were $3.1 million was moved to the capital improvement fund to be applied for future police and fire training facility, and $180,000 for future fire truck purchases. It's always exciting when the capital improvement fund gets used to start setting money aside for future capital purchases. I know a lot of other municipalities often finance their fire trucks, which you can do for 5 years. At this point, we're pre-financing. That is, we're setting aside money before, which is always good. There were some personnel salary increases, primarily some of the big ones, not all of them fit into this category. Police officers received a salary scale adjustment and raises on top of the raises that they received in the middle of this year. The fire department received a pretty big salary adjustment there. We had the standard merit increases for non-uniform and salary adjustments, primarily for hard-to-fill and hard-to-retain positions. We were able to budget for 3 new firefighters, 3 new police officers, and 2 operators in Parks and Recreation. In capital expenditures, we have some facility improvements at Animal Services, police and fire stations, 6 new police vehicles, reporting and station alerting upgrades for the fire department, security cameras being added to the police department, parks, and senior center. The community center, when I say parks, the cameras, as y'all know, are going at the community center, primarily in the pool area. Fire department had a few small capitals also, a new cardiac monitor and electric extrication tool that'll help make it a safer community to be in. Shade structures at the Rolling Oak Soccer Complex, and new playground equipment at Lake Williston. In the in the street fund, the most exciting thing for me, I think, is that we were able to double the overlays for 2024. Instead of spending $400,000 for the year, we'll be spending $800,000, which will hopefully make an improvement that the community sees and appreciates. And then also really exciting was that there was $425,000 more than we have spent in the past for bicycle and pedestrian facility upgrades. Primarily, you're thinking trails and the like. And so that comes to $500,000 when you include the $75,000 that we've spent in the past. And then, of course, purchased a couple sanitation trucks, which may or may not get here in our lifetime. But with that, those are the highlights of the budget. And so I'll go ahead and open the floor for discussion. Councilmember Mosley.
Yeah, the section 2 down there toward the bottom of the resolution. This is exactly the same as it's been the last few years, right? As far as the
Mr.
transfer funds within.
Yes, sir, I just copied it from the one from last December.
Great, thank you. I have one comment. I just wanted to say that the budget process is vastly improved since it was when I first got on the city council. I think I came on at the same time Mayor Norris did, and it was a very frustrating process to the council members, and the mayor has managed to streamline this thing and has done a much better job of having something very well organized to present to us. So that makes it much nicer for us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The biggest problem I see is that we're so last minute. If I can keep Beatrice happy here and not on board with any new software, have any software fiascos in the next year, I don't see why we can't really be meeting throughout November in this process instead of cramming it in there at the end. But thank you, sir. Councilmember Tierney?
Yes, I also want to compliment yourself and the council for approving a fund to look into the possibility or the feasibility, I should say, of building an indoor pool at the not the community center, but the center by the lake. And I do want to reiterate, this is just a feasibility center, just to determine if this is something we should consider in the future. So it doesn't mean we're going to build it, it just means that we're going to look at it. So I wanted to thank everybody for doing that.
Thank you, yes, good point. And we'll make sure that's in the minutes. It's just a study to see what it would cost and the feasibility of it, yes, sir.
Exactly.
Any additional discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
I've got a motion to adopt Resolution 2023-42. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. That concludes new business. For mayor's comments, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I'll leave us out in adjournment with the, anyways. I also want to thank each and everyone for participating in a very merry Maumelle. It has, by all accounts, been a great Christmas season here in Maumelle, and that has come from the result of a lot of work, council appropriating money, individuals serving, the Chamber of Commerce, and let's see if we can keep it going. It's been really neat. And I believe that's it. Council member comments? Councilmember Gardner?
Yes, sir. Just to echo your comments, I wanted to thank Kelly with the Chamber for all the work that she did for the Christmas season. I know Councilmember Gronwald also helped out with the committee, but if you didn't attend any of the events, the first Saturday with the Lions Club Pancake Breakfast and the parade, it was fantastic, even though I wasn't here. I hear it was great. But my wife did a lot with last week at the Center on the Lake and the market, Mistletoe Market. Very well attended. The people had a blast. And then this last weekend, if you were around Lake Willisteen, it was so cool to see. I had to park over by Dr. Austin's office. It was completely packed, and just families and kids out running along the lawn on Lake Willisteen. Santa was there. Buddy the Elf was there. It was a lot of fun, and the movie The Grinch was played. But just seeing Lake Willisteen at night, all the lights, the efforts that we put into, some of the funding to do some of that, and there was a lot of corporate sponsorships and private donations as well. It was just great to see the community come together and start these traditions that can build over time. But the Summit Church sponsored this past Saturday, Summit Church of Greater Little Rock, and they did a fantastic job with the whole evening, and it was a lot of fun. It was great to see all the kids having a good time.
Councilmember Mosley?
I just echo how pretty Lake Willisteen is at night here during the Christmas season. The decorations are really nice. The little blue Christmas tree down by the shore and all that. My wife and I do a lot of walking. We try to walk a couple of miles every day, and this time of year we end up doing it at night, so it's a very pleasurable experience. Thank you.
Councilmember Holt?
I just want everybody to know that Saturday when I was at the grocery store, I had the sudden pleasure of bumping into someone that we all know, Councilmember Ken Saunders and his lovely wife. He is doing amazingly well. I was very pleased to see his sprightness, and he was pushing the grocery cart, and we had a few minutes to speak. He's energetic, he doesn't seem to be ill at all. I mean, he's healthier than I am, so I wanted everybody to know he seems to be doing remarkably well, and we can celebrate that victory that he is on doing so well. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you, sir. City Attorney comments? City Clerk comments? At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, it is my duty to make a recommendation that we adjourn the meeting. I forgot everything else I was supposed to say.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjourning signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned, and I will see you next year. How many times will I say that?
You'll have to go home, but you can't stay here.